The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
For three for the win, yes!
That's why we switch up the intro every night on Z's and Threes. Thank you so much for joining me. Tyler Denning here to recap the one game in the NBA this evening, Tuesday, December 17th. It was the NBA Cup final. Hyped up, all those colorful courts, all the group games. Come down to this, the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo against the Oklahoma City Thunder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Some other players on those teams as well. We will get into why the Bucks have a little bit more bite than their bark. Sorry, Thunder, the headlines sometimes, they just write themselves. So let's recap the NBA Cup final. Before we do, if you're a fan of Z's and Threes, please do like and subscribe. Let's catch you up. Group chat game of the night? Well, we only had one choice. The game that means everything, yet counts for nothing, outside of a fat paycheck for the players that play in it. Bucks, Thunder, NBA Cup final in a rockin' T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Not so much. Back and forth first half as the Bucks led by one at the halftime break. It was the third period in which the game changed in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. They outscored the Thunder 26-14. The Thunder shoot 26% in that quarter. 5 made field goals. 3 of those were by SGA. They were 2 of 7 from 3. That was the theme. The Thunder will not be betting 3 on the roulette table. It was the lowest scoring quarter of the season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. In that quarter, Giannis accounted for 91.3% of the Bucks' points. He scored 12 himself and had 3 assists that led to 9 points. The book was essentially closed on this one at 4:36, and AJ Green made 3. It was a 19-point Bucks lead. It was curtains, 97-81. The Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA Cup champions. What do they get? I don't know. $500,000 there for the players. Pretty good payday. Fewest points scored in a game this season for Oklahoma City. They shoot 33.7% from the field, 5 of 32 from 3. SGA had 21 points, goes 2 for 9. J-Dub had 18 points. Hartenstein got off to a good start, finished with 16, but no one else was in double figures. For the Bucks, one of the big differences outside of their defense, we will get into that. They go 17 of 40 from deep. 26 points from Giannis, 23 from Dame. He makes as many threes himself as the whole Thunder team, makes 5. 13 from Lopez, 13 from Gary Trent Jr., a season high in rebounds for the Bucks with 52. So let's break this one down a little bit. Okay, a couple of thoughts where the game was decided and my takeaways. Spoke yesterday in my keys, but first off, said the best guys have to take you to the mountaintop. Ironic. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander talked about that bigger mountaintop. We'll get there. Giannis asked what the defensive game plan I did would be for the Thunder on Giannis, and I don't think there was much of one. He scores 26 on 10 of 19, shoots 6 of 11 from the free throw line, 19 points, 10 rebounds, and it wasn't due to lack of try. So that's where I'm saying there wasn't one. It was no answer for the size. We saw Caruso, J-Dub, Kenrich Williams, Hartenstein match up, and it's no shade to the Thunder. They were constantly active with their hands when Giannis had the ball down low. It's why that team is so good, the Thunder. They take the ball away, but getting beaten by Giannis, that is no exception. It is the norm. Man's is having a career year. He is balling. More on him in a second. Talked about the matchup between the two stars. Who would exert their will on the game more and be able to score in the way that they effectively carry their teams. I had also asked what was the defensive game plan for Milwaukee on SGA, which you can see here graphically. Screen left, that is the shooting chart for SGA. Screen right, that is the shooting chart for Giannis. What really stands out? SGA struggles from deep. He also lives in the paint. He went 8 for 24 from the field. He shot just 4 free throws, averages 8. He has the third most free throw attempts coming into this game. Stats don't count in this game, by the way. But both succeed in scoring at the rim. The difference, tonight's game, SGA, just 4 points in the paint. He goes 2 of 7 in the painted area. Giannis scores 18 of his 26 in the paint on 9 of 14 shooting. Let's talk Oklahoma City's shooting as a whole. So the eternal question, to 3 or not to 3? Well, in this NBA, you have to 3. And I had written it down before Mike Breen asked it of Richard Jefferson. And that is, when it's not your night, do you just keep shooting the 3 ball? I think a great answer from Richard Jefferson. In the old NBA, he said no. In the new NBA, yes. So I also asked the second question as I was watching, can you adjust your identity on the fly? If the 3 is not falling, do you keep shooting? These are the shooting charts for both teams. Oklahoma City is on the left. The right is the Milwaukee Bucks. You can tell the difference between the made threes. Also focus on the corners for both teams. The Bucks lived on the corner 3. The corner 3 is the easiest 3. It is the closest. That's why teams value the corner 3 so much. For Oklahoma City, well, they weren't taking a ton of corner 3s. They just shot frosty. They built a new wing on the MGM next to T-Mobile with their shooting. How much of it was the Bucks defense? How much of it was Oklahoma City's poor shooting on the night? If the teams play again and those shots fall, were they good looks? Well, that will be up to the coaching staff to determine. That's not up to me, you, or anybody. If it's the looks that they want from the shooters that they want, well, they're going to play the numbers and just keep doing it. I asked top of the show the definition of insanity, continuing to do the same thing over and over if the result doesn't change. So at behest this evening, did Oklahoma City just expect the 3s to start falling? Are they not a good shooting team? Well, they're about average, middle of the pack when it comes to shooting the 3 in the NBA. But tonight was not their night from the field. So let's talk about that Bucks defense. An adjusted defensive rating coming into this game of 16th in the league. The adjusted defensive rating, Dunks and Threes is the website. Go check them out. It takes out garbage time that teams play. So very indicative. The Bucks at 16th, not exactly a defensive juggernaut, but tonight they looked the part for whatever reason. Finally, the turnover battle. This is where the Thunder feast. They hang their hat on being able to turn teams over, not turn the ball over themselves, and score off those turnovers. The Thunder tonight, they forced more turnovers, 19, than the Bucks. Yet, the Bucks score more points off of turnovers. 12 points for the Bucks on Oklahoma City's 10 turnovers to the 11 points scored for Oklahoma City on the 19 Bucks turnovers. So you get 19 turnovers, yet you fail to convert that into more points than the other team. That is the identity for the Thunder. I think just a very bad shooting night for Oklahoma City. So let's talk about takeaways. Do we pump the brakes on the Thunder? Well, they're a good team, a very good team. They're in pole position to win the Western Conference in the regular season for the second season in a row. But SGA on open run earlier this week had been asked about the markability of the Thunder and being in the comp championship, and he had said, quote, when we get to the top of the mountaintop, aka winning a championship, they'll have no choice but to listen and pay attention. And my beef with this Thunder team is it's a team that is yet to prove themselves in the playoffs and in the big moments. This was a big moment tonight, albeit with the stakes lower other than exposure, but what does that do to a team's psyche? We've also seen weaknesses against teams with big front lines. They have just 5 losses, the Thunder do, but the ones that count, this one did not go to their regular season record. They've lost to Denver, Golden State, Dallas, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Houston Rockets. They also beat the Houston Rockets in the semifinal to get here. So, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, you start to wonder, hey, what does this team look like with Chet Holmgren when he eventually returns from injury, paired with Isaiah Hartenstein? We have not seen what that tandem can look like manning that front line for the Thunder. One of their biggest weaknesses, also the amount of points that Chet Holmgren helps generate for them as a viable third and or second scorer to SGA and J-Dub. So getting him back, what would this matchup look like? The good thing for the Thunder, this game doesn't count for anything record-wise. It is just that their pockets aren't going to be as fat. But that game tape coaches talk about, or we hear, hey, you're going to burn that game tape. I don't even think they'll look at this one ever again. It didn't count, other than you didn't make another $300,000. That's a lot of money, though. Bucks. Does this cup run elevate the Bucks into contender status? Yes, they are playing good ball. But I would also pump the brakes, say yes, no. They will go as far as Giannis takes them. Health has been the issue for Giannis, especially come playoff time in the years past since they won their championship. Does Chris Middleton have anything left in the tank? Giannis is having a career year. He is in the front-running quartet of MVP candidates. And Giannis, for as far as he can take this team, matching up against Cleveland, Boston, you're thinking the Magic when they are healthy. Well, Giannis is good enough to take you there. He has done it before, albeit doesn't have maybe as much help this year, but it will all fall on the shoulders of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Finally, asked afterwards Doc Rivers on what he learned from his team. He said, quote, playing together, going in at night, not drinking. After the media laughed, he said, I just had to say that. It is true. So there it is. The Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA Cup champions. Second year running, we now have the LA Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Remains to be seen what the Bucks can do with this. Does it give them any momentum? Bucks fans out there, are you hyped? Are you out there celebrating tonight, calling in sick at work tomorrow because you want to run it up for the NBA Cup? I don't know. Finally, my thoughts on the presentation of the game. So my broadcast notes, a broadcaster myself, I've been calling games for the last 15 years, and I have to ask for ESPN, is this what you're continuing to roll with when it comes to your post game and halftime show? They've taken a lot of criticism, but it just does not feel big. Malika Andrews is the host, Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, and Bob Myers. It just doesn't got that oomph, and I get that you're competing against TNT and what they have in their big names, but as of now, that's just not doing it for me. You talked the game crew as well. Doris Burke missed this one because she was apparently sick. Making light of it that it was not due to losses at the blackjack table. Richard Jefferson was the lone analyst. The expectation is to pair Breen and Doris Burke with Richard Jefferson, who I think offers a great insight as a player perspective, especially with some ties still to this era. But sometimes my beef is in a bigger game. You have to dial back the cheese a little bit, Richard. But you got to be you regardless. That's his style consistently. So we will see how it works and how they continue to incorporate and work together with Burke, Jefferson, and Mike Breen. All comes down to how you like your broadcast, entertainment versus information. On the spectrum, for me, I would prefer to have my announcers not trying to get their bag off and inform us more on the game that is going on. So the NBA Cup season is over. The champions are the Milwaukee Bucks. Tonight's heavy pour leading scorer is Giannis, who had 26. The dunk of the night goes to Giannis. Performance of the night goes to Giannis. And the stat of the night, well, that's just that the Milwaukee Bucks win the second NBA Cup title. Injuries and news. Well, the revamped All-Star Tournament format was announced today. There will be 4 teams playing 3 games in a one-night tournament. There will be 3 teams of 8 All-Stars. The 4th team will be the winner of the Rising Stars game, which is the first and second year players pitted against one another. Each game, so of these 3 games, will be played to just 40 points. Are we playing half court here? They didn't say. The voting format to comprise the All-Stars has not changed. 50% fan vote, 25% media, and 25% current player. That will determine the 10 starters. Head coaches amongst the league will pick the other 14 reserves. Okay, that doesn't really make sense. But the kicker here, and this is where you completely lose me. The teams will be 4 teams, and they will be drafted by Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny. The teams will be named Team Shaq, Team Charles, and Team Kenny. The Rising Stars will be called Team Candace. So this all after the TNT pre- and post-game inside crew. Adam Silver spoke on the 3-ball, and he had said, quote, "I think the game is in a great place. I love watching the games, and I think we have some of the most skilled athletes in the world competing, and it's unfair. I think to the players to lump them into categories as 3-point shooters or mid-range shooter or big man playing under the basket, it's an amazing game. Having said that, we're constantly having discussions about whether there are ways to improve stylistically the game on the floor," end quote. So this was being asked about the proliferation and the shooting of the 3-ball, and the NBA looking into such if any adjustments will be made. Okay, on to the next piece of news, and how about this one? Yikes, the Charlotte Hornets had presented a young fan a PlayStation 5 at half court. And then when they walked the young fan off the court, they took it back from him in the tunnel. And this was covered in the media, so the Hornets having to walk back and saying that the skit, quote unquote, missed the mark. They will give the child the PS5 back and also a VIP experience. My question is, what was the mark of the skit? It's a PS5. Let's let the kid have it. Finally, Kawhi Leonard. Maybe we see him back in action before the new year. He might travel with the team for their 3-game road trip that is coming up Thursday at Dallas. It begins. You usually bring a player with the team when he is actually going to play. So will we see Kawhi suit up for a Clippers team that is still within contention in the Western Conference? House shoes. Been a busy day today, so some repeats. Teddy Santis, New Balances. You guys ever have a large kick rotation and just end up wearing the same 5 to 7 pairs of shoes? Yeah, we're there. It's busy. Holidays. House shoes, we need to talk about the NBA Cup and some final thoughts. And what I think the NBA Cup needs, and that is to find their why. Everybody has their why, and this format needs to find it. Take you back to the level of basketball that was played in the bubble when hoops was the sole focus for the players, coaches, everybody associated. And I by no means am advocating for a return to Disney or a bubble format, but made me think of this was the quote from Doc Rivers when the players are in Las Vegas, and he said we played together and it was not drinking, not going out that had his group locked in. And we have to find something other than the playoffs that has some stakes for the players to lock in. Some teams and some players do it every single night, night in, night out. They take pride in their work, just like I do here at Z's and Threes. We're going to bring it to you every single night. But me doing this show and looking at the slate, an 82-game regular season across 7 months is a slog. It is very difficult to bring y'all a good show when it is a bad night. Just like for players, I am sure there are nights when you don't have it, and maybe when you're on the road and you want to stay out or enjoy being on the road. But we have to find ways, I think, to break this up. I'm not saying less games, but just finding ways to make the games that we have mean more. I've advocated for a separate cup season in which there were 29 games that you play every other team in the league once. We have no conference affiliations. Everybody makes it to Las Vegas in a bracket-style tournament. Would love to see more players, more teams in Las Vegas. I think it would be better crowds. I, for one, would love to be there. But you don't know if your team's going to Vegas, so how are you going to book travel? And also, it's the week before Christmas. There's a lot of people traveling around this time of the year and New Year's. So in my priorities, NBA Cup, well, it's not going to find itself that high. You have the regular season beginning in my format on December 25th. That is the NBA's official holiday anyway, in which people sit around and they watch the NBA. Tonight's game was a dud for a championship game. And I can't even remember if last year's game was a good game, bad game. I don't know. The group games seem to have some extra juice, but it's also too confusing for the average fan in this mixed format where we have cup nights, which was a good thing, I thought, to have Tuesday and Fridays designated as cup nights, but to oscillate back and forth between cup games and then just regular season games, and also the cup games count for the regular season. That's just too confusing. People can't hop into it. Players also don't seem to put any extra emphasis on cup games when it comes to load management. If they're not going to play, they're not going to play. I'd already said this one, we need more teams in Las Vegas. It will give it more environment. At any point, did you feel like the environment was great over the course of the 3 games that were played in Las Vegas this Cup season? And we also have to play for something more than just money. I know that the players need to be paid to play the extra game. That's what this was. But for the fans that watch, what more stakes can we have other than knowing that the players make $500,000 if they win the Cup? NBA Cup season on a whole, year number 2. I give it a B-. Props to the NBA for continuing to try, but in the words of Inception, you mustn't be afraid to think bigger. In spite of my room for improvement suggestions, I will miss NBA Cup season. I liked making the fancy graphic format and the new chords. It was an improvement from year number 1, make no mistake, but I think there is room for improvement to make it even better. Wednesday is a league off day. No one is playing, with the schedules having to be balanced with the teams that did not make the elimination rounds. We will have a heavy night come Thursday. 13 games. Z's and Threes is traveling, so depending on travel, we will see if we can get you a show come Thursday or Friday morning. We're taking a mobile setup. We'll be rocking with you over the next week for sure, as Christmas we cannot miss, along with the days next week. If you like the show, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Share with a friend if you're listening on podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. It's all thanks to you. Thank you so much for joining me, Tyler Denning. We will see you soon.